They said a Spartan boy belonged to the city before he ever learned his mother's name. In Laconia's cold dawn, elders lifted newborns to the light, judging whether a life served the state or the chasm below. Our story begins with one child without a name, thin and squalling, held between old hands and a mountain wind. He will be measured, starved, beaten, taught to lie for survival, and to tell the truth only to Sparta. He will be ordered to kill in the dark and expected to die in the sun, and somehow he will survive the one situation designed to grind boys into shields, the agōgē. If stories like this keep you watching, help the channel grow. Tap like so the algorithm does not bury long history. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into the past's darker corners, and tell us which ancient myth you want unmasked next. Now, back to the boy. They place him before the elders. Just as Plutarch wrote of infants carried to a leschi for inspection, sturdy ones kept, the weak exposed at the apothetai, beneath Taygetus. Whether every unwanted child was hurled into a chasm is debated, but our boy is spared by a breath. He is alive. His mother wraps him in wool and learns a lesson she teaches every parent. Affection is permitted, attachment is not. At 7, his hair is shorn, his name entered with other paides, and a paidonymos, boy herder, claims him for the state. He joins a pack, an agōgē, led by older youth, the Eirene, whose voice becomes winter. Reading matters less than endurance. Music is for cadence. Speech is for brevity. He learns to be silent until silence itself becomes a skill. Hunger becomes a teacher more faithful than any man. Rations are deliberately thin. If he wants more, he must steal it. And if he is caught, his crime is not theft, but failure. He pads through kitchens in the dark with other boys, fingers tasting salt and animal fat and fear. And when a hand snatches his wrist, he learns how punishment works in a city that praises pain. At Orthia's altar, the scourges whistle while crowds shout, and a lesson is hammered into his back. The body is a wall to be broken and rebuilt until it stands stronger than before. He watches a boy bite through his lip to keep from crying out. He memorizes the sound because it is the difference between honor and disgrace. He fights because boys fight everywhere, but in Sparta, it is an examination written in bruises. Older lads test the younger for quickness and obedience. He is knocked down and gets up, knocked down again, and finds the angle that turns a larger body with a smaller shoulder. He learns the rhythm of drill until the files march like a single mind. Xenophon wrote that Sparta was thinly populated, yet powerful because training replaced numbers. The boy learns what that means when he stands in formation and feels a phalanx lock around him. The first time this shield meets another shield, he understands why bronze is a comfort and a prison. At 12, the cloak that barely kept him warm is taken away for most of the year. He sleeps rough, and wits become clothing. A single garment, a single bowl, a single pair of sandals that must last. He watches the helots who farm the land that feeds his city. Men and women who will never sit in the assembly, never earn a place at the mess, never be called homoioi, equals. He is told they are necessary and dangerous, that fear is justified and pity wasteful. He learns to speak of them only as labor, not as families. He is taught that safety is a ritual, renewed with vigilance and violence. The rites of pain continue. At Orthia, he sees a friend collapse beneath the lashes and bite through his lips to keep from crying out, because honor is quieter than agony. He does not know the names of the lawgivers who made it so, only that he lives inside their intention. He trains with shield and spear, learns the weight of a hoplon and the trick of using the rim as a second edge. He learns to hold his tongue when elders pose riddles designed to trap pride. He is praised for brevity and punished for boasting. He grows used to swallowing words the way he swallows pain, quickly and without chewing. When the Eirene chooses him for the krypteia, he feels two feelings that do not coexist anywhere else in Greece: pride and dread. This is the city's shadow school, the one outsiders whisper about and scholars debate, called a secret police by some and a rite of passage by others. But whatever the name, it teaches one clear thing: terror is a tool. The boys are armed with daggers and sent into the countryside alone, barefoot, to hide by day and hunt at night. Their prey is not deer, it is helots, judged dangerous to the city. He learns to watch from thickets, to mark paths, to listen for the crunch of frost under sandaled feet. He learns that courage can be quiet, and that quiet can be cruel. Yet even with the darkness, rules remain. He must not be seen. He must not be caught. If a helot surprises him and he flees, he must return with proof that fear can be made obedient. He watches older youths drag bodies to crossroads as warnings. He learns how the calendar works in a city always at undeclared war with its serfs. New magistrates declaring ritual hostilities so that killing has legal shelter. He does not say the word murder. He says training, and then he refuses to say anything at all. Years pass in a rhythm of drill and deprivation. He grows taller but leaner than boys elsewhere in Greece, scarred along the back where the whip taught him to master his breath. He runs in silence, throws javelins at targets that grow smaller, wrestles in sand baked hard by the sun. When he is old enough to stand in the phalanx with the men he once served, he realizes the agōgē has given him one indestructible gift in taking something equally permanent. The gift is certainty. When the pipe sounds and the line moves, no one asks why. The cost is curiosity. He feels it slip away each year until it survives only in the hours before dawn. He earns his place at a Sycidion after the oddest election in Greece, a silent vote with bits of bread, any single rejection a veto that sends him away. He is admitted. The men clap him on the shoulder and slide a bowl of broth toward him, thick and black, and he understands that victory tastes like necessity. He owns little. The city's coins are iron and its walls are men, or so the sayings go. Though he has walked the Eurotas and knows there are cliffs no wall can hold. Rumors drift in from beyond the mountains about the other cities where boys learn music and mathematics and the long excitements of argument. He thinks of those boys the way that a soldier thinks of sailors, with both envy and contempt. He knows that Sparta has enemies, enough that phalanxes are never optional. And he can list the names of battles where his elders push back larger armies because files do not break and shields do not tilt. But he also knows, though he would not say it aloud in the mess, that a city cannot eat certainty forever without starving something human. One night, years after his krypteia, he is sent with his unit to escort a king to the border. He walks beside men whose faces are geology more than flesh. They speak in half sentences that are all understood. When a messenger brings news of a revolt in a distant village, the king does not look surprised. The boy, who is now a man, wonders whether surprise is the last luxury he gave up. On a winter morning in the training ground, he sees a new file of 7-year-olds arrive, hair shorn, eyes wide with hunger and dread. One of them as thin as he was. The Paidonomos line them up, barking like a shepherd with impatient dogs. The man feels a pulse of recognition so strong it trembles his hands. He steps forward to correct a stance, to adjust a grip, and hears his voice come out level and spare. The voice of every Irene since the city was steel. He realizes that agōgē does not end when you age out. It moves into your mouth when you speak to the next boy. What did survival cost him? The question waits in the night when he cannot sleep and in the mornings when he can. He survived by anticipating commands before they were spoken, by carrying pain like a second skin, by making his mind as narrow as a spear, and by widening it again just enough to make room for a regret. He learned that courage without compassion becomes cruelty, and that discipline without doubt becomes dogma. He learned that a city can be strong and still be afraid. that a people who call themselves equals can still need a shadow to feel tall. There is a legend that Spartan mothers told their sons to come back with their shield or on it. Our survivor knows another sentence they said as well, the one about bearing men and not cowards. And he wonders whether cowardice ever meant the refusal to harm someone who could not harm you back. The city did not give him an answer. It gave him a life and a place in line. He is a good man by Sparta's measure. He can hold station under a rain of arrows, and he can hold silence when a child asks why his father will never return from a field the child will never own. When he stands before the altar again as an adult, the whips are lifted for boys half his size, and he looks away before the first cry. It is not pity that turns his head. It is a memory. He knows every discipline has a threshold beyond which it stops shaping and starts breaking. He thinks about the helot women who bring water to the training ground and the helot men who set the stones straight after a drill smashed them. And he thinks about what the city might be if those hands were treated as hands instead of tools. In the end, our nameless boy becomes what the agōgē was designed to make, a man who will stand where he is told and move when he must. He will be praised by allies and feared by enemies and remembered by strangers who will wish their own nations could be just as disciplined and not nearly as cruel. He tells himself that survival is a kind of wisdom. He will walk the river at dusk and listen to the reeds and understand why poets write of other cities. Then he will go back to the mess and say nothing, because saying nothing is the final lesson and the first habit. Strength, Sparta taught him, is the willingness to suffer for the city. But he learned another definition too, one that arrived late and quietly. The night he spared a helot boy who had not seen him in the grove. Perhaps strength is knowing when not to use all the power you have been given. Perhaps the bravest act in a life like his is to let one life pass untouched into the dark. If this story of the boy who survived the agōgē gripped you, help it travel. Like the video so YouTube knows to show it to history fans. Subscribe for more human stories behind famous myths, and drop a comment with the next shadow you want us to explore.